We make way for Booger McFarland of the Mothership. You can see him on NFL Primetime with Chris Berman on ESPN+. Booger, good to talk to you again. Give me the most important college football game this weekend.
Wow, most important. Probably the Georgia-Alabama game. I think when you look at that game, DP, I think, Georgia, we kind of forgot about them a little bit until they had the big win at Tennessee. Alabama, we kind of wrote them off after they lost to Florida State. Both teams have kind of bounced back a little bit, and now they face each other. And Kirby Smart, for everything he's done on the collegiate level, I think he's 1-6 against Alabama. Now, a lot of that had to do with Nick Saban, and Nick Saban is gone, but he lost to Kalen DeBoer last year. So I think that's the biggest game this weekend, and probably number two would be LSU going to Ole Miss, because I think we find out a lot about both of those teams to see if they're both for real from a national championship standpoint.
But if Kalen DeBoer and Alabama beat Georgia, that takes a whole lot of heat off Kalen DeBoer.
Not only takes heat off of him, I think it clearly puts him in a position where he cannot be judged going forward, because he would have been 2-0 against Kirby, and that's something that I think if you're an Alabama faithful, if you can beat Georgia, then you can beat anybody in the country. And so for him to win that game 2 years in a row, I think really makes not only him feel good, you also got to think like his wife and his kids, they gotta live in Tuscaloosa. And so I think the entire family will feel a little bit more stable and can kind of live their life in Tuscaloosa. But you lose that game, now you got 2 losses as the calendar turns to October, and I think the heat gets back turned up.
It feels like Brian Kelly is not secure at LSU, or at least I always get that feeling that it's like, yeah, but he's got to win some of these games here. Like feels like a really important game for Brian Kelly. You would know better than anybody. How secure is he in that job at LSU?
I think he's very secure, because
Okay.
I know what the buyout is like, and the buyout is substantially large. And unless you're Texas A&M, who wants to spend $75 million buying out a coach, then I think BK realizes, and I think everybody in college football realizes, that there's a difference between the heat being turned up because the natives are restless, and then there's also a difference, the heat's being turned up and you may get fired. I think BK feels the heat because every coach who preceded him has won a national championship. Saban, Les Miles, Ed Orgeron. They all won national championships in the first 3 or 4 years, and this is year 4 for BK. So he feels the heat, and regardless whether LSU wins this game or loses this game, the heat is still going to be there until the ring has been secured. And so he understands that. He knows it. He's heard it from me. He's heard it from a lot of people, what the expectations are. I think this is the best defense that he's had. The offense is not, for whatever reason, clicking on all cylinders. So it should be a good test in Oxford on Saturday.
Mike Gundy and Dabo Swinney didn't forget how to coach. What happened?
I think Mike Gundy got caught in a situation where he didn't evolve with the times. And when you don't evolve, you get left behind. I think Dabo is in a situation that's a little bit different, because Dabo did start to evolve. He went into the transfer portal. His best defensive player came from Purdue out of the transfer portal. It's kind of a weird thing up there, DP. They got a ton of talent. Like, talent is not the issue. And so here's what I always go back to. When you have a coach that's been successful and you have a team that has a ton of talent, but that team is not winning, I always go back to this. There's a disconnection between this team and the coach. And you wonder how that could happen. But at a certain point, the message starts falling on deaf ears. Like, the coach can be the same and the team can have been in the program, but the team is not hearing the message for whatever reason. I think that's the case up in Clemson, man. They got probably 5 or 6 guys that are going to be drafted in the first 2 rounds. So how can a team that talented be 1-3? Somehow there's a disconnect between the coaches and the players. And on top of that, I'll go one step further. I don't think Dabo has hired the greatest coaches to run his offense and defense since he's in the last few years. Like, he's got Garrett Riley running the offense. He's got Tom Allen running the defense. There's a disconnect there also, because when talent and the coaching staff don't connect, I think what you get is you get 1-3.
Booger McFarland, ESPN NFL college football analyst, a studio analyst on ABC, and you can also see him on NFL Primetime with Chris Berman on ESPN Plus. More concerns about the Ravens or the Chiefs?
Kansas City, because I think when you look at Kansas City, they've won with their defense the last few years, and the defense is still pretty good. But at a certain point, we always knew the offense would come, and Patrick would come, and Travis would come. But like the best parts of their team are not performing. Kelsey's not performing. Trey Smith, the right guard, is not performing. And you say, well, what the hell does a right guard mean? It's really simple. It means protection for the quarterback and opening holes in the run game. Well, they're not doing either. I understand Rashee Rice is out with a suspension. You're trying to figure out when Xavier Worthy is going to come back. So at a certain point, I think they're going to get their weapons back. But if they lose this game, they're 1-3. I think Baltimore wins the game and they're 1-3. And at a certain point, the hole is too big. And I get very concerned when the team is revolving around one guy. And it seems to me that if Patrick doesn't make courageous plays, like they don't move the ball. And so it's no longer a team. It's turned into a one-man show. And I don't care who you are. One-man shows don't survive in the NFL. It's too many grown men. It's too many great players. You have to have a team. And right now, their team is not as good as it's been for those reasons I listed.
I was wondering if the Giants, I knew they would go to Jaxson Dart eventually, but do you start him at home against a better team in the Chargers or on the road against an inferior team, the Saints?
You know, it amazes me. Like, why does everybody always try to be concerned and try to pick the place that he starts at, DP? Like he's a professional football player. Take the Band-Aid off. Like, this is not Ole Miss. This is not Syracuse. Like, we're not playing for the Peach Bowl. We're playing for the Super Bowl. Take the Band-Aid off. Let him go play. And if he fails, great. Turn the tape on, coach him up, and send him back out there. Like, at a certain point, we have to stop trying to handpick a moment for success. We almost treat these guys like our kids. You know, I want my child to be successful. So you try to put them in a spot where they can have success early so they can get confidence. I get that. But at a certain point, don't you want your kid to kind of fall and kind of scratch themselves up a little bit? Like, I don't want them to bust the head of them, but I do want them to fall so they can kind of grow and learn. I think you have to treat the quarterback the same way. Is he going to struggle against San Diego or Los Angeles? Absolutely. He might get his head beat in, but he'll be better for it the next day. He may struggle against the Saints. He'll be better for it the next day. The only way you can teach a guy or a player can learn something, I truly believe you learn more through failure than you do through success. So I want him to fail soon. So shame on you for trying to handpick where you put him at, DP. Put him out there. Let him play.
Hey, I learned more. People say, how do you know, like, what do you buy in on a quarterback? I said, I want to see what he does when he throws an interception, what he does the next series. That will tell me everything. I want to know what you do when it's all starting to cave in. And, yes, get him out there, let him play. I think they're viewing him as a savior with the Giants. And if you're Brian Dable, he has to be a savior to save your job, it feels like. What do you have to see if your ownership of the Giants with Jaxson Dart that you're going to bring back that coaching staff?
I think if you see the quarterback fail and then continually get better throughout the season, because I think we all feel like a rookie quarterback is going to struggle. But what you want to see is progress. You want to see him. He may not be Jaden Daniels because he's not, but if you can have some moments of success the way Jaden Daniels did as a rookie, and toward the end of the year, then you can say, okay, I think the coach can get it out of him, and now I'll bring the coach back. But because I think at some point, and the Giants have been very patient, because at some point you got to stop the cycle. You got to stop the cycle of coach on the hot seat, rookie quarterback, play rookie quarterback, coach gets fired, then you start over. Because now rookie quarterback has wasted year one, and now year two is a learning year, and then you're in the year three, and guess what? At a certain point, he's going to want to be paid. It's kind of the same thing that's going on in Chicago. Like, everybody's talking about, like, Ben Johnson. Caleb Williams came in. Now Ben Johnson is there. I think those two guys are married for like 4 or 5 years. I think that's the way to do it. Like, you have to marry the coach and the quarterback so he can have time to actually coach the player. And so if you're Giants ownership, if Brian Dabo shows that Jaxson Dart has any type of pulse throughout the season, I think you bring him back. I think you bring him and Joe Shane back maybe on a 2-year deal. And if they can't get it done at that point, then you make a change. By then, at that point, I think the quarterback will have enough experience where you can figure out whether or not you want to keep him or you want to give the new coach an opportunity to go draft his own quarterback.
If I put everybody at ESPN in the octagon, who comes out?
I think Chris Canty's going to be a candidate to come out. Myself will be a candidate to come out. I think Marcus Spears probably is a candidate to come out. I mean, beyond that, man, like some of these dudes at ESPN, like it's a lot of dudes that are soft. Like Mike Greenberg, Mike Greenberg is soft, man. Greenberg is not. As a matter of fact, Greeny's not even entering the octagon.
Yeah.
Kevin Negandi's not getting in the octagon. David Lloyd, like some of these guys are not getting in. I think the only person who is a non-athlete that may get in would probably be Michael Eaves, but he just had both knees replaced, so I'm not sure how long he would last.
How about Shefty?
Have you seen Shefty try to do the Lambeau leap or do the gritty?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing athletic about Shefty. Nothing. And I love him to death. Now, he's a pretty good golfer, so I shouldn't say there's nothing athletic about him. But as far as using that athleticism to, in any shape, way, or form, fight, no chance.
What about Kendrick Perkins?
I'm not sure the level of stamina is there for KP to last in the octagon. And I love Perk. Like, Perk is 7 feet tall, and I know Perk is losing some weight. But at a certain point, like those rounds last 5 minutes. And so what I would do against Perk is just run for 5 minutes, DP. Like, I'm going to shuffle for 5 minutes and stay out of the way.
Orlovsky can't get in the octagon.
You know what? I don't call him Orlovsky. I call him the human exclamation point because he's 6'5" and 200 pounds. He's bigger than you think. Also, I don't know if he's tough. He's a quarterback. Like, how many quarterbacks have you seen that's not named Jim McMahon or Brett Favre that are tough? Like, I just don't. I don't think of the quarterback as being tough. Just like you. Like, you host a show. You're amazing at what you do. Nothing about you says I'm tough. Nothing. And I'm going to say that to your face. Now, super smart. Maybe you're a good golfer. You and I haven't played golf together, but nothing about you says tough.
That's fair, but mentally tough is something that, that's really rare, that I'm mentally tough. I'm sort of like Brady, that you underestimate me and then I become the GOAT. So underestimate me, it's your,
That may be the only time that someone, even you, compare yourself to Brady, number one. Number two, I want to pick your brain on this. I'm going to the Ryder Cup on Friday.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the Ryder Cup in New York, and how do you think this is going to play out? Because I have a theory, because the course is set up, the rough is not as long because the U.S. is not the straightest off the tee. I get that. But I think, speaking of mentally tough, I think the Europeans, because of their experience, may be a little bit more mentally tough than the Americans. Let me hear your thoughts on the Ryder Cup.
Well, I think that we've seen where they galvanize better than we do.
Yes.
And I think that there's so much psychological warfare that's involved in this. Like, you must be mentally tough. There's a 5-footer to have the hole, and you got to have guys who can do that. And I think the European team, the way they're built, we've always had individuals. They have a team. And I think even though you have some marquee guys there, big names, they still come out as a team. And a team is always going to beat individuals. So I would not be surprised at all if the Europeans win this thing.
That's a great point. I would also add to that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Americans are getting paid and the Europeans are doing this for free. I think there's something there because not that the Americans asked to get paid, even though Patrick Cantlay wants to be paid to wear a hat. That's a whole different story. I do think, to your point, the Europeans would do this, and they are doing it for free just because of how much it means. I think some way, shape, or form, they've always felt inferior to America when it comes to golf. And I think that's why they may get up for this more than the Americans. Would that be fair to say?
I think it's always resonated. It's more important to them. Because they have been underdogs. But, most of them live in the United States. So it's not like the old days where they maybe weren't playing that much against the PGA Tour guys. Now, they're all kind of comrades in arms here.
Yeah.
You got the whole live and the PGA Tour, and so DeChambeau's the one guy That's the one guy that I'm more curious about than anybody else playing. Do his teammates like him? His style of play? Is Justin Thomas going to be his partner here? How does that go? Do you match him up with Rory? I mean, do we get fireworks going? All of those things. So and that's a wonderful course for them to play. But the Europeans have played well on that golf course.
I think if you're Luke Donald, I'm pairing Tyrrell Hatton and John Rahm, and I'm sending them out first because I want to set the tone in New York. I need somebody who's used to handling the pressure, who's used to the crowd, and I need a little bit of a guy who's ornery. And I think you get that with Hatton and John Rahm. My question for Keegan is who you're going to send out first. Are you sending Scotty and Russell Henley out first? Are you or are you going to kind of, send DeChambeau out first just because of the attitude? If it were me, I need to win that first point. I'm sending Scotty Scheffler, Russell Henley, and if I'm the Europeans, I'm sending Tyrrell Hatton and John Rahm. I haven't seen any pairings, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's the first match out Friday morning at 7:10.
Look at you. You don't need football. You break down golf here. I love it.
I like having fun. You know that, buddy.
I love it. Hey, have a great weekend. Thanks again for talking to us, and have fun out there.
Anytime, man. Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you very much.
Booger McFarland.